Today, I have the Days for Girls Winnipeg chapter co-lead, Janet Minnick, joining us today. I love the things that you guys do for girls, and so we're going to get into that. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks for this opportunity. It's great.
So, for people who don't know what Days for Girls Winnipeg is, what is it, and how long have you been involved?
Days for Girls Winnipeg is part of the larger Days for Girls Canada, which belongs to Days for Girls International. Days for Girls International is a worldwide group of grassroots volunteers I believe it's 150 countries throughout the world that make and distribute freely reusable menstrual hygiene kits. So in Canada, there are 58 teams and chapters, and we have been in existence since 2014 when I formed the chapter here in Winnipeg.
That is absolutely amazing. I love this. Do you have a certain amount of volunteers right now? Like, how many people work at the Winnipeg chapter or volunteer?
Well, we have about 150 people on our contact list, but I think in terms of regular volunteers who come to the sewing events or work from home, I would say between 50 and 60.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that. What I
Can I
really
just
want,
go back? Can I just go
yes.
back? I did make a mistake. There are 487 chapters and teams worldwide, of which there are 58 in Canada.
Wow, that is incredible. Thank you for sharing that. What I definitely want our listeners to know, and I know a lot of them care deeply, what is the reality for girls in developing countries if they don't have the necessary resources for their menstruation, their cycle, their period?
Well, it would mean for girls that they would probably miss up to 5 days of school per month because they wouldn't have the supplies that would allow them to leave the home. It could mean that they are using sort of sketchy items to provide the absorption that they need, and that could lead to health issues when they are using things that really aren't intended for that sort of purpose. It would also be the same for women who are looking to work to support their families. They would be missing work as well, and so the implications are important. So if we can provide those sorts of supplies that every woman requires, then we're lifting them up to finish their schooling in a timely fashion or allowing them to attend work.
What I appreciate so much about this is that these are not um, disposable, where it's not like pads. Can you tell us a little bit about what you create?
Sure, the kits are intended to be sustainable. They are reusable. They are very cleverly designed. We are constantly listening to the users of the kits and adjusting them as necessary. So, from the very beginning, I believe have been 28 iterations of the designs in the kits in order that they best meet the needs of the women and girls who use them. They are designed to last for a minimum of 3 years and if they are cared for properly. We use very high quality fabrics. We use fabrics that have images on them that are stain hiding, but they are also images on the fabrics that are respectful of cultural meanings that could be tied to images on the fabrics. So we tend to stick to dark patterned fabrics that maybe are florals or geometrics. Nothing with eyes is sort of one of the guidelines, the most important guideline that we follow. So we're very careful in terms of our fabric selection, the design of the item, and then the construction. So our sewers follow very strict sewing guidelines, and then we are constantly checking to make sure that the measurements and the sewing quality meets the standards that have been set out by Days for Girls International. And so we strive to meet what are known as gold standards for the creation of these kits.
What sort of countries benefit from these kits?
Well, there have been 3.5 million kits distributed freely since 2008 when Days for Girls International was established. And they go anywhere in the world where they are requested. Um, a lot of African countries, Central and South American countries, really anywhere where they are required. We have also responded in times of crises, providing kits for refugees or people who have experienced major environmental disasters. So, for example, when there was the earthquake in Nepal several years ago, kits were airlifted to the people who needed them there. So really, wherever they are requested, we're happy to share them.
That is truly amazing. If someone listening wants to help, volunteer, get involved, how can they do so? And yeah, who do they contact? That kind of thing. And what are you looking for?
Well, I would really recommend that anybody who's interested in knowing about the work that we do, check out the Days for Girls website, which is daysforgirls.org. And it talks about the contents of the kit, who we are, where they're distributed, and that sort of thing. And then people who are interested can search for teams and chapters close to them um, and see whether or not they are accepting volunteers. I'm sure you can appreciate that the fact we have almost 150 people on our contact list. We are pretty well maxed out in terms of volunteers for the Winnipeg chapter. However, people who are interested are certainly welcome to contact us and find out more about what is happening, come and see what we do. And then if they are interested in setting up their own team or chapter or finding one that's close to them to volunteer with, then that would be great.
That is incredible. I think what you do is just phenomenal, Janet. I mean, half the world has their period, and yet so many don't have access to things that they need. So, thank you for doing what you do. I really appreciate it. One last question for you today. Why do you do what you do?
Well, I am retired, but in my work life, I taught in textile science at the University of Manitoba, and then moved on to be an educator in with the Winnipeg Health region. And so I've always been interested in sewing and in education. And when I first heard about Days for Girls and the work that they do, it just seemed like a perfect fit for me. And so I was very excited to become involved. And I thought, truthfully, I thought it was going to be my own individual efforts. But so many people were excited by this same project that I was really encouraged to start the chapter here in Winnipeg. And you can see by the numbers, it's just grown exponentially. And we are delighted to have been able to make and distribute over 6,000 kits since we started 11 years ago.
That is incredible. Well, you do sound like the right person for the job. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.